Hello, everyone. This is Andreas Pop Culture Guy. Today is the latest Andreas Pop Culture retrospective slash review, and is on Mad Max 2, The War Warrior, directed by George Miller and starring again Mel Gibson as the titular character Max. Now, in summary, a post-apocalypse wasteland in Australia is the setting for this reiterating sequel that finds Max, played by Mel Gibson, being a drifter who is constantly on the lookout for where gasoline. Gas has become a bounding ground for vicious gang, um, or murderous crew in the wasteland. But Max finds out about a location where a group of survivors have been able to produce it. The only problem is transportation, which Max agrees to help with in exchange for enough to get him to his next location. Now, as you see, this pretty much month we're talking about somewhat sequels, and I think Mad Max 2 is a very rare sequel that actually managed to be better than the original film. This is this here really doesn't happen too often, but director George Miller takes everything that made the original so good and adds a ton of adrenaline to the action, makes for quite a memorable movie. Fans of the original film are going to be happy that the rawness also gets carried over here as well, but with even more wicked stunts and more action. It's impossible to not fall for this film. Mad Max 2 The War Warrior is one of the best sequels ever. It's evident that the original was and more. And the main protagonist and star Mel Gibson is great here as always, and the new cast here performs very well as well. And Brian Main's skills as a composer have improved, and he gives a very fast-paced score, which is awesome and very memorable in this film. And plus, our director George Miller's directing skills have also improved, and he deals some of the most intense car sequences that have yet to be rival. Well, except maybe Mad Max Fury Road, but we'll get to that next year for his 10th anniversary. Anyway, are the incredible action scenes, as I mentioned before. As with the first film, you cannot help but watch them with your jaw on the floor as you wonder how no one was killed during the production. It's crazy. These action scenes aren't made through editing, but instead they're just downright dirty and dangerous stunts that are incredible to watch in full speed. I'm not going to ruin the most memorable stunts, but the finale is just one Magless scene after another as Max goes spinning down a road in a semi truck followed by the countless bad guys. The amount of destruction on display is enough to please any action fan uh, ever. It's these scenes here that makes this movie a classic and one of the best action films of this era. Period. This this film is special for me and for everyone is because although it's very popular when it's released and is even more popular now, it is unique in that it's not afraid to be just that. If that confuses you, let me explain. Let me put it this way. George Miller has created a film that, while trying to improve the flaws from the past films, it is not afraid to be the original and on Hollywood. And I must say, Mr. Miller pulls it off very excellently. This exciting picture packs kinetic energy, thrills, chills, shocks, and an abundance of violence. And plus, spectacular stunt work with plenty of motorcycle races and cars with bounds and leaps and explosions. It's just incredible. Top notch, I would say, for any film of action, action genre. Plus, Mel Gibson as the revenge drifter Max at Angel, or whatever you want to call it, at one of his first main roles, he embarks a spectacular escape against the vicious murderous gang. Rumbling and screeching musical score from Brian Bain is also great in the action scenes and helps to elevate some of the darkness plus the humor that this film displays. Special and the weird futuristic atmosphere created by the cameraman, Dean Similar, who reflects the splendid barren outdoors. The motion picture is stunningly directed by George Miller, and the author of the excellent post-apocalypse soundtrack. We're also giving a great to just to wrap up Mad Max 2, the War Warrior. Um, let's get into some of the other monoculous things that I haven't mentioned yet. First off, again, We need to give a good shout out the great supporting cast slash villains that we have here. If in the film of Mad Max 2, everyone fitting their roles quite nicely, which is good. And of course, the male star, as I mentioned before, Gibson, who managed to be even better here than he was in the first film. He seems more mature and he feels more like an adult than he was in the first film. He isn't giving too much dialogue, but that's okay. But he managed to really come across in a believable fashion as this drifter who once again finds himself with nothing and a reason to fight. Everything else from the wonderful score to the terrific cinematography just takes the material and raises it to new levels. The War Warrior, uh, in general, has influenced a lot of the subgenre of the post Holocaust slash apocalypse genre in science fiction throughout the 80s and even today. Mad Max 2 is a pure adrenaline rush from start to finish, and with the burial elements of the first film, I cannot help it has improved and it's entertaining this time around and even better. So I want to say thank you everyone for listening to Mad Max 2, The War Warrior, Retrospective slash review. I'll be back for more. As always, thank you for joining this review. I'll be back. Ciao. Bye.